Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape! No! Planet where apes evolved from men.
The only good human is a dead human!
Apes! Do not want war! God damn you! God damn you all to hell!
Dylan, we are doing another thing. That's the way to describe it, isn't it?
I mean, it is a thing, yeah.
That's an important distinction, I think, to start with.
You know,
It's
I don't
not
think
a
there's
place. It's not really
think
an
there's-
idea. It's not a person. It's a thing.
I don't think there's any word in the English language with a broader definition than thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because even those other things that you just mentioned, places and ideas, could still be classified as
They
things.
can still be defined as things, yeah. So anyway, we're going to talk about Planet of the Apes again. In Addenduming Apes. What a ton!
That was a really odd attempt at replicating the fucking horns from the original.
I wanted it to sound weird. That was my only goal.
Yeah.
I feel I succeeded, and I'll go to bed happy tonight. So, Dylan, Talking Apes, we did all the Planet of the Apes movies, except War for the Planet of the Apes, which came out the week we put those up. And we didn't do the two television series based on Planet of the Apes, the live-action 1974 adaptation with real people interacting with not real apes, and then all the 2D apes and occasional rotoscoped apes interacting with likewise animated people. So we're going to do something that we didn't intend to do originally. We're going to mix the two things together and do a double feature of the pilot episode of the live-action show and the pilot episode of the animated show to create a little bit of variety of what the hell did people in the 70s try to do with Planet of the Apes on TV.
Yeah. Now, I would probably not expect many of the people listening to have physical copies of these. I mean, I don't even. So, but if you're wily enough and you know where to look, you can find them on the International Space Satellite Base.
They exist. They're out there if you look hard enough.
The truth is out there. So,
find it, conquer it, and bring it back like a cat bringing a bird to a door, leaving it for its owner.
Go beneath it, escape it, conquer it, battle it, rise above it, and dawn
punch
on it.
Punch Iron Man in the face.
Yes, that is the final test.
And then you can be purple.
Get your eye gouged out, but gain lightning powers in the process. You know, all of the things.
He didn't so much gain them as like be able to use them better. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about that now, though.
Did he use them in all the first two movies? I don't remember.
We're talking about Planet of the Apes in the 70s, where people were like, hey, we'd like to continue to make money on this thing that we stopped making.
Right.
Which is what a lot of things were in the 70s. Star Trek went that route in the 70s.
The Star Trek animated series.
And the animated series, I forgot about that.
You weren't even talking about the Star Trek animated series. Yeah, there's a Star Trek animated series. It's not very good, but it's out there, and I've seen it, and oh boy.
There are other examples.
Also, like, super canonical. Like, it takes place after the original show. Like, there's continuity. It's fucking crazy. But,
I know.
Yeah.
It was a wild time. It was a wild time to be alive.
Other things that did that. I mean, everybody got a fucking animated series back in the day. You know, there was not one but two separate Gilligan's Island animated series during the mid 70s and early 80s.
Lots of TV shows that were on in the 60s and were popular got animated adaptations or met Scooby-Doo in the 70s.
Right. And then there were like the Three Stooges got turned into superheroes or some shit. I
They
don't know.
were
It's crazy.
robonic stooges, as Andre said in the last SOS.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of crazy shit going on in the world of Saturday morning cartoons. Basically, if there was an IP, then they were going to make a fucking cartoon out of it.
There was a little
It's
bit
a
of that
shame.
going on in live action TV as well. Like there was a lot of reunions going on for older TV shows. Sequel TV shows became a thing. Spin-offs.
Yeah. It's a shame
Franchises
that
became popular.
It's a shame that by the time Star Wars came around, there wasn't really as much of that going on. You know, we were moving more towards like basing cartoons around toy lines. I mean, we had the droids thing and the Ewoks, so there was some animated Star Wars fare being done back at the time.
And
But
animation-wise, it looks fine. It's just story-wise, it's completely worthless.
if those Star Wars movies had come out like 10 years previous, you bet your ass there would have been some like mid-70s animated series all about fucking Luke running around with his lightsaber.
Some
sticking it.
super non-canon expansion of the universe.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah,
like the Jedi are revealed to be like oh we can turn people into frogs. Like what?
It would if it's anything like the fucking Star Trek animated series, it would be like fucking Dark Jedi on crack. Because like that show is fucking insane.
Right.
Uh,
Anyway,
yeah.
we need to stop talking about Star Wars, Marvel Cinematic Universe, Godzilla, all the different stuff that usually provokes us to go on tangents because we're talking about.
The point is, a lot of things got animated series back in the day, and Planet of the Apes was one of those things. I don't know why we were talking about that though, because that's not even what we're watching first.
Well, no, but the live action show isn't. We were getting to the fact that that's also something that happened in live action shows. Like there was a bunch of other new, like I said, a lot of spin-offs and sequels and continuations of older TV shows in the 70s and movies that provided a landscape where this kind of thing made sense. But otherwise, the backstory of this show is they stopped making the movies because they weren't making as much money, and they felt that this franchise would be better served to maintain the merchandise empire that they'd created with Planet of the Apes on television, because that's where that kind of thing was really becoming popular. So that's really why they brought Planet of the Apes to television, because it wasn't that long after they ended the movie series. It wasn't like Star Trek or any of the other things we talked about, where it had been like 10 years since the Planet of the Apes thing had come out. Like it was like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, when did Battle come out? 1972, 3?
Yeah, it must have been. Well, no, because Beneath was 1970, so it would have been like 74 by the time we got to
It's
Battle.
even less of a jump. Like it was like the next year. So
No, like 1973, I think.
Oh, so yeah, that's exactly what I said.
I'm trying to do the math here, but it's not a good time for me to be trying to do math.
Never. So they brought it back. They didn't continue the series so much as use it as a spring, as so much as like use the status quo of like the original movie as a jumping on point to tell new stories.
Yeah, well, it's clearly in an alternate timeline. One theory that you and I have discussed before, Bill, is that this is the timeline post-battle where Caesar obviously, Zira and Cornelius went back in time and escaped, and they fucked around, and then Caesar became a thing when originally it was supposed to be Aldo who started the revolution.
They were on
prime time.
They were on TV series and ruined the past.
They were. You can learn all about that in Tales from the Forbidden Zone, a book which we also reviewed because we're friggin' ape addicts. Now,
you got any more of that shit, man?
You got any apes? So
you got any apes?
Point is, time travel,
You
new
man, I got
timeline,
some
shit,
apes.
shit got fucked up, and so now it's more of a Star Trek situation than a Terminator situation, if that makes any sense. But
right.
Yeah,
so the reason why that's a thing is because there's a big difference between this and the original movie's universe. The humans are not dumb animals; they're just slaves.
Right.
And And that obviously makes for a status quo that's much more easy to pull off on television, because then the main characters can just kind of blend in and interact with other kind of normal people in this otherwise alien setting.
Right. And that's why I theorize that this is the Caesar timeline, the original Caesar timeline. God, this is getting confusing. Because that's the more natural progression from where they were left at the end of battle, I feel.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It just seems like something happened either after the lawgiver died or maybe even during his time, where they were like, fuck people.
Well, I like to think that it was just sort of a gradual progression. Like the humans just started to get less and less rights in ape society after the lawgiver's death, until eventually they just pretty much became slaves.
Right. And we can talk about all that and more as we get into the show. So you've never seen this before?
Not in full. None. I have seen some of the show, but it was so little of it and so long ago that I don't really remember it at all. Mm-hmm. So the animated series is the one that I have never watched any of. So that's going to be much more interesting. But
I have seen full episodes of both. So once again, on the TV show front, I have the knowledge here that you don't. And my opinions are thus: the live action series, what I remember of it, I was always like, oh, I didn't know that there were so many Planet of the Apes movies. Because when I first watched the show, it was in compilation movies that were played on Channel of the Apes back in the day. They were called, like, Back to the Planet of the Apes and In Search of Liberty on the Planet of the Apes, or some weird moralistic title. Like Pride and Prejudice on the Planet of the Apes, or something like that.
Abraham Lincoln Ape Hunter. No, yeah. Those compilation movies used to confuse me as well. Before I saw just the film marathon on Fox years later, and was like, okay, so this is the fucking movie order, and everything else is from the TV. Like, I worked it out eventually, but yeah, as a smaller child, I was definitely thrown off by those as well.
Yeah, so when I watched them, though, I think that was a testament to how good they were, was that I was like, oh, I didn't know there were so many other movies. Now, I mean, they're not amazing, but especially in terms of the makeup, in terms of how much they hold up to the other films in the series, particularly the later ones. Like, obviously, when you compare them to the original, they don't so much hold a candle, but it holds up well with, like, Conquest and Battle, production-wise. And overall, the writing proposes some interesting ideas for the Planet of the Apes universe that we couldn't get without this new context created for the show.
I can only imagine what it would look like if you compared them to, like, the fucking the makeup effects in the Tim Burton movie. Considering that's like the one thing that movie's got going for it.
Right.
Is like the best makeup in the series.
I would say that I almost enjoy. I think I definitely enjoyed this story-wise more than that even. So this. This is definitely. This is definitely not like this is a shitty fucking cash in. Like, it is definitely a not so amazing cash in, but it's definitely not shitty. It's a decent exploitation of the Planet of the Apes series.
How would you say it stacks up against other, like, shows of this kind of caliber of the time?
It's like slightly less good than the old Hulk show, I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
Like that is better because it has more of a personal focus. This is more fun than that, but it's Planet of the Apes, so sometimes it gets a little too goofy, and that's my problem with it.
I would really love if, over the course of this pilot, that woman from the Hulk pilot was in this in like ape makeup, and she's like, "I was lifting up the horse."
I was lifting up the cart. All right then. So let's get into the live action pilot, which is called "Escape from Tomorrow."
Oh, good.
I think that's what it's called.
Yeah,
It's
Escape from
it's
Tomorrow.
pretty much a lower budget version of the first movie. Astronauts, or even the second movie. Astronauts crash on the Planet of the Apes, and shenanigans ensue.
Well, the title is certainly intriguing. Escape from Tomorrow. It almost sounds like another term for suicide, but I doubt that's what it means. So we'll see when we press play.
I'm interested to see if the twist plays out really at all. I guess it must.
Oh yeah. I wonder if they did that in the first episode or if they sat on that for a while.
Let's see. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
I know there was that moment at some point where there's like a big deal when Urko discovers that the humans used to be in control. But
I'm pretty sure that's just how Vernon proves it to him. I don't think that's how he discovers it.
Right.
But I'm not sure. I don't remember. We'll find out. So, everybody, I hope you've had the chance to find a copy of Planet of the Apes from 1974, Escape from Tomorrow. We're going to press play in 3, 2, 1, play. Dylan, let's do a quick time check. I'm at, hang on. See, this player sucks. I'm at 9, 10, 11. Where you at?
Okay, I'm like a second ahead of you.
Okay, it shouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah, when you said 11, I was at 12. Like it's just that, you know.
Right.
Not really a problem.
Right. You know, I don't love this. Just to go on a brief rant, I don't love this new Daily Motion video player.
Yeah, no, this is pretty bad. I don't know what they're smoking at Daily Motion.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want them to share or not.
I definitely don't. I'm happy with what I have. I like this intro. The music score is Planet of the Apes. I mean,
I could have done with a little less of the fucking spaceship at the beginning and the do and all that shit. But like most of the intro, like once the gorilla face popped up on screen, I was on board.
It's kind of a mix. It's kind of a mix of like a James Bond Live and Let Die kind of opening.
And that last shot there of the gorilla raising up the gun and like the sunset superimposed behind him. I mean, even as someone who hasn't seen a whole lot of this show, that's super iconic.
Yeah. Meanwhile, corpses are just left by packs of oranges. Oh, this one's still kicking.
Who is this old Native American man?
This is Squanto is picking oranges. Is that racist? No. Fuck it. That is my context for Native Americans. Oh, just a dog. Wow. I thought they were all wiped out, huh? That's new.
Oh, yeah, this can't be the Caesar timeline. Fuck. Theory debunked. First.
I guess dogs could have had a resurgence. Maybe some of them were, like, in Australia.
Yeah, I'm going to say that it's still the Caesar timeline, and the reason that there's dogs here is that the writers didn't think about it.
They didn't think about that, yeah. That's new. Alright, so they're doing the crash. This is in a super low-budget way. This is like Quatermass experiment method. Just have the ground shake. We'll have a light. People will get it.
The writer of the show was like, nobody ever said there weren't dogs in Planet of the Apes, right?
No, they did.
Meanwhile, in Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
Dogs were wiped out.
Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom.
Hang on, I want to go turn down the audio on my actual TV. Narrate for a second, shall you?
So now Grandpa Shitting Bull over here is taking a look at the spaceship. I like that they kept the design of the spacecraft consistent with the films. It's got that like giant metal arrowhead thing going on. That's cool. It looks smaller though, I think. But yeah, not a terrible looking ship here. Would have been nice to see the crash, but yeah, this is obviously 1970, whatever the fuck it was, TV budget. So
I hath returned.
Good, because I was running out of things to vamp about. But Yeah, the
Squanto.
yes, the racially confusing old man just pressed a button, and now the spaceship has opened up.
This is the same spaceship from the first two movies, the Icarus.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? I was just saying while you were gone that I liked that the look had remained consistent, but it's the same prop, is it? That's good.
Oh, these guys are fucking drunk out of their minds.
The scale looked
I
different.
better just call the cops on them.
The scale looked different though when the old dude was walking around it. It looked smaller than in the movies.
He's still gonna steal their hubcaps
Oh fuck.
if he can find them. Hey man, you remember Planet of the Apes? Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's good. Lift his head and like pull him. That's what you want to do with somebody who's been in an interstellar accident. They're just lucky they're not sprouting like powers, like they're gonna set on fire or become a rock man or stretch or go invisible.
I mean that would benefit them actually in this scenario.
A Fantastic Four Planet of the Apes crossover is not a bad idea.
I mean, you could do that with any superhero though, because the idea would just be like a human overpowering the apes through their superpowers, you know?
Right. But the question would be the same as like the Star Trek crossover where it's like, do we interfere or just leave it?
Oh, did you notice that gate that the gorilla just opened had like the spikes on it from beneath? That was a nice touch.
Oh. Overall, the look of the society in this is consistent with the movies, and that's another thing that makes it so good.
Yeah.
Acting-wise, it's also a series that I think stands out. Like, I like the leads. You know, they're not Taylor, but they're Brent. You know, I like them better than Brent even, particularly the blonde guy. Sometimes I get them mixed up, but I'm pretty sure he's Vernon. I really like him. Holy shit, the Dr. Serizawa of chimpanzees is fucking pissed.
I want to know if this old man Pocahontas character sticks around at all.
Old man Pocahontas.
Damn it, Jimmy, don't go exploring strange spacecraft. That's how I lost me eye.
Oh, we were getting a good look at his ass. This is very different from the other two times we've seen this kind of story. Because, I mean, I guess except like Escape. Because it's not in like the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. What's really interesting about this is actually seeing the apes discovering the crash, like right after it happened.
Right, and they find a human in there. Like, there's no... I mean, I guess they could cover this up, but they haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, they will cover it up, but you know, they get it. They can see a pretty clear image of what's going on here.
I like to think that if the planet had not been blown up at the end of Beneath the Planet of the Apes, that eventually the apes would have started to develop space travel, and in their early stages of space programming, they would have sent humans up in spaceships the way that we did with chimpanzees.
Yeah, I mean that's what we see in the original book.
And then one of them would get lost, and their ape handler would go looking for them and go through a black hole and wind up on Planet of the Humans.
I keep bringing up things that aren't on frame, but I really liked the fact that we had like a bad or intimidating... Oh, here he is, an intimidating chimpanzee character, you know? Like, this guy's clearly not a great dude. Like, he's not one of our chimpanzees who we're really supposed to sympathize with. Usually... the chimpanzees are always like the good guys, and the orangutans and the gorillas are the guys we don't really like.
When did Chief Shitting Bull over there get both of those guys out? I only saw him get the one guy out.
He carried them both back individually. So far, we've seen lots of people sleeping. And Squanto.
Yeah, lots of a Native American guy being creepy while people sleep.
I don't know if we needed the astronaut thing again. I get why they did it at the time, but if you do a Planet of the Apes series, it really should be like an anthology thing. Or just do it about apes or some humans. Like, it should almost be like Game of Thrones. Like, you don't have to do the astronaut thing again. You could even have, like, a character like Taylor or some kind of astronaut who crashed who crashed in this time pop up later as somebody who's been there for a while, but just this introduction to it it's been done.
Yeah, I just don't think anybody would have thought of that because at this point, everything Planet of the Apes related, going all the way back to the original novel, has been this same plot about, like, astronauts and shit. So, maybe in the post-Rise Dawn War world, we could get something like that in the future. But I mean, we've already gotten that.
There's a PS4 game now that's supposedly canon. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to. It looks interesting. I haven't seen any reviews for it though, so I'm a little weary.
There's a PS4 Planet of the Apes game. When the fuck did that come?
It's called Planet of the Apes: Last Frontier. It came out it didn't come out that long ago, or like beginning of December. I'm pretty sure.
When the fuck did shit? I didn't see any marketing for it or anything. It just fucking happened.
I only saw trailers for it on Facebook.
It's fucking wild.
You dare to bring us fruit? We're American astronauts, I'll have you know.
I demand a burger.
Where's my Budweiser?
My God, we can't have a burger because we've landed in a future where everyone's converted to Hinduism.
I wonder if we're going to see Dr. Zaius in this first episode, because I really want to talk about him. He's a massive distinction between this version and the other versions we've seen.
Yeah. And we'll get another version of Dr. Zaius in the animated show.
Yep. It's a fucking menagerie of Zaius.
There's also the Japanese tokusatsu variety, which we named Dr. Gaius.
Oh, yes. I remember him well.
One cannot forget Dr. Gaius.
He's hard to remember. Or hard to forget.
Taylor walks in. Dr. Gaius? Yeah.
Oh my God. He's got a penis in his mouth. Oh, yes.
Tell us where your hive is, you silly goose.
So listen, has anybody ever told you that you look like a fucking witch?
Yeah, I don't think this man's Native American anymore, but he's so disheveled.
He looks like he should be telling fucking, was it Macbeth or Hamlet that met up with, like, the three fucking witches in Shakespeare, who told them, like, oh, you're gonna fucking take over and it's gonna be great.
That's Macbeth.
I thought it was Macbeth.
Yeah, Hamlet is the one who has a
It's
conversation.
a ghost. It's the ghost of his father, right?
Yeah, his dad's ghost. Yeah,
right,
it's very.
I've read Shakespeare.
Oh shit.
They don't even know about the apes yet.
They don't.
This is super decompressed. The name of the astrological corporation that they work for, though, is the same. ANSA.
Okay, so the old man told them about the apes. They haven't seen them yet. And Dark-Headed Guy's like, yeah, right.
I guess it's kind of interesting that they get kind of a warning, but they don't believe it. That's also different than any other version. That's a great moment. You don't fucking say.
A planet where men wear latex ape masks?
Oh, wow, that looks good. And yeah, I guess we are going to see Dr. Zaius. I believe that's who this is. Maybe not? No, I don't think that's him.
And there's Roddy McDowall playing Galen.
Oh, we should talk about that. Roddy McDowall's fucking back. Playing he's kind of a midpoint between Cornelius and Caesar, I feel. He's just kind of your average Joe ape who's sympathetic to humans. What are you doing, house human? I guess this is Dr. Zaius. So I guess we'll talk about this. Dr. Zaius is a very different character in this show. He's the head of a... He's kind of a governor. He's more of a Grand Moff Tarkin, I feel, in this. But he's not as bad of a guy either. He's a little more fair. But he's not played by Maurice Evans, and that makes him feel like more of a different character. But they've done, now that I'm looking at him, they've done a pretty good job of making him look like he did.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Galen, because he's supposed to be I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be a surgeon. Because Galen is also a character in the first movie. He's the surgeon who Zero works with. And I suppose he's supposed to be a version of the same character. And is still a surgeon. Cliche shirtless scene for male protagonists. This just doesn't feel as dangerous as when Charlton Heston got dropped in the middle of the desert, without zero context.
Yeah, maybe it's just the sheer fact of having like an old dude there who's like,
this is here for people who don't know Planet of the Apes. This is that way they can watch every week and know what's going on. That's why we didn't do the whole dropping them into a dangerous situation and just having them deal with it. They get a little primer before they get thrust into the danger. Ooh, a book. I can't read this. It's fucking eroded. Oh, wow, that's held up well. Oh, this is also like the future happened. Like the world seems to have progressed more before everything fell apart.
Yeah.
It's very much so, like, I guess kind of like Ultimate Planet of the Apes? Is that a way to describe it?
I suppose.
Or Planet of the Apes Earth 2, maybe.
Wait, this is Urko here, right?
I believe so. He's also a character who is he's a mix of your Ursus and Aldo type. He falls somewhere in between.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't like the voice.
I never really liked him so much in the show. You don't really get as much of an appreciation for him until you read those fucking anthology stories that we talked about in that review.
You read him. You read him in that book, and he I picture like a gruffer, like Ursus voice. Then he's in the show, and he's like, "Listen, Zaius, we gotta stop these humans. See."
Well, he's not an Ursus general. He's a security head, of a region. He's not like a grand commander. He's ultimately a guy who works for a paycheck, and he's trying to do the best that he can. Zaius is the real fucking guy in power here. And he's always being like, politics, Urko, don't be an asshole. And Urko's like, ah.
I also think part of the idea is supposed to be that Urko gets a little bit crazier as he's been chasing them for a while. So this is still the first episode, and he's just like, what's this? What's going on?
Right. I like them yelling at each other, though. It's very Planet of the Apes. What do you think of this new Zaius? I don't really like the performance. I like the ideas. I don't like the performance, though. He just doesn't have the authority and presence of Dr. Zaius.
I feel like they should have just called him something else, you know?
Yeah, he's a completely different character. I agree.
They could have called him Maximus. That would have still been a callback to the original without being like,
yeah,
you know.
He feels more like that character, too.
No, because Maximus was just as big of an asshole about the humans as Zaius was, maybe even a little more.
Definitely. But, like, role-wise, I mean.
Performance-wise, maybe.
Yeah, he's more understated. Zaius is always like, human man can't be taught anything. You know what you can see that's problematic? Roddy McDowall is so much better at acting through the makeup than everybody else.
Right, because he's got 5 movies of experience under his belt.
And the rest of these guys are like, what are we doing?
I forgot 4. He wasn't actually in Beneath. But yeah, 4 movies of experience behind his belt acting through this makeup. And even though this makeup is of a lower quality than what he wore in the films, it's still just that experience, man.
It looks good, though, doesn't it?
It does look pretty good. It just looks a little bit more plasticky than it does in the movies. You know, the light shines on it in a different way.
You know what I equate it to? Transitioning from the Jack Pierce Universal Monsters makeup to like the rubber masks that we got later.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's not bad, it's just not as good.
Yeah, with those fucking masks that they wear, like, in the crowd and Beneath when Nurses is giving his speech.
I mean, this is better than that.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't understand Galen's role. I guess that's because we're not really super listening to the dialogue. He just seems to be like a nuisance so far.
Yeah, he seems to be a scientist working under Dr. Zaius, and he's been sent along on this expedition to try and figure out, like, how these people are different from the other people. I think he winds up sympathizing with them and becoming a fugitive with them by the end.
That I know, but I think he did other stuff that made that necessary.
Yeah.
We'll see. Because I know he interacts with his father in a later episode, and his dad is like, "You're an idiot." And he's like, "I know, but I'm doing the right thing." And his dad's like, "God damn it, you're right."
Yeah, well, first the fucking grandmother from Pocahontas has to die, and then...
Yeah, right. And then that'll form like an emotional reason for them to carry on to try and, have justice served or whatever.
Yeah, and to stop John Smith from being executed by the Indians.
Mm-hmm. And for Johnny Appleseed to take over.
Right, yeah. That way Paul Revere will know to ride when he sees the British. I feel like we've lost the plot here.
Should we talk about Robin Hood next? Maybe Santa?
Come on, you dumb monkey. I mean...
Grandma told me to do something.
It's like that guy in the gorilla's costume wanted to run like an ape, but he had no idea what that would look like.
In the books that in the book that had multiple stories in it that we read, they have a Forbidden Zone-esque thing in this universe, but I don't know if there's like a Forbidden Zone kind of deal in any of these episodes, because everything I remember looks like this. They're in woods.
Right, yeah. Probably, you're right, for budgetary reasons.
Right. 3,085. So that's 30 years after when the original... No, wait, 3950-something. That was it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, this is early.
Unless was it 3950-something or 2950-something? I don't remember. I think it was 3950.
Yeah, I think it was way more in the future than this is. But apparently they still use, like, Polaroids.
39.50 something. They probably thought they were
Yep, there
being
he
clever.
goes. He/she is done.
They probably thought they were
Squanto
being
must
clever.
be avenged.
Yeah. They probably thought they were being clever by saying, like, oh, we'll set it before the first movie. That way, like, the humans still have time to stop talking. Haha. But, like, no, that's not.
Oh, I hope that's not what they thought.
But, like, no, that's still not enough time for them to stop talking.
Also, they mentioned Taylor in a later episode. Not by name, but, like, it's clearly what they're referencing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's probably best to view this continuity-wise the way you view a DBZ movie, you know, which is to
Right,
not think
yeah,
about
that's a good point.
which is to just not think about it at all.
That guy just got fucking pimp slapped.
He did. There goes a motherfucking PIMP.
I'm gonna sell your ass on the market, boy. You see, Rodney McDowell is just acting circles around all the other apes. Like, so far, I've been pretty happy with the human performances. The ape performances have been kind of a letdown outside of Rodney McDowell. Oh, and I liked that evil chimp at the beginning. He was cool. There's a bunch of Planet of the Apes comic series that are not canonical with any of the movies really in particular, but they're more like this show where there are intelligent humans interacting with apes like, you know, from the original movies. I want to read those. I want to see if they're in any way connected to this series or if they just kind of stand on their own. They're called, like, Conspiracy on the Planet of the Apes and Assassination on the Planet of the Apes. Because the recent Boom Studios Planet of the Apes comics have been crossovers, like Kong on the Planet of the Apes is coming out soon.
This is really how they set up Galen becoming like a friend of theirs. It's like, I read a book, but now I see everything clearly.
Mm-hmm. God, that is such an old cliche I'm so sick of, getting out of your binding so easily. He just rubbed his hands against a rock. It cannot be that easy.
That would depend on how shitty the rope is.
They would have moved all the rocks away.
Yeah, assuming that the ropes that they tied them up with are of good quality, it should have been harder than that. But if they were like super old, shitty ropes, then
they should have used better ropes for their very special prisoners. I remember now, Galen is fascinated by their technology. They have a better sense of, like... I feel like they have a better sense of the fact that humans were once in charge in this universe. You know? Which I guess makes sense since they're interacting with them more on a daily level. Yeah, although we haven't seen so much of that so far.
Well, there was a suggestion in the original film that the high-ups, you know, like the orangutans, knew all along, and it was kind of a big state secret. I feel like they just sort of make that a lot more blatant here.
I think we've talked about before. It would be interesting to see, like, an alien invasion of the Planet of the Apes, like war. You do War of the Worlds, but with Planet of the Apes. So that way you could see them finally bust out some, like, secret human weapons, you know? Like a nuke or something. Do you think if you do that, you directly cross it over with War of the Worlds, or you just do any number of generic alien races?
I don't know that it would matter. I think you can do it either way. You know, what might be interesting is invasion of the body snatchers on the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I mean, then you would definitely have to make it a crossover.
Fucking pod apes.
Well, what would be interesting is if the pod people, or if the pods replicate humans and apes, and then they end up working together, and the apes are kind of resisting that. Shut your dumb mouth. That's pretty much every scene between Zaius and Urko. Holy shit.
Oh, hell of an explosion.
He's got a thermal detonator! Ah, see, Zaius has a little bit of his old spark. Like, let's learn how they did it, and then we'll kill them. Maybe if you do, like, the alien invasion plot in this universe, it might be more interesting, because then you can have the humans help.
Mm-hmm. Then it would be, you remember that idea I had for, like, a Predator Planet of the Apes crossover, where you have, like, some humans and some apes out in the jungle, and they start getting hunted by the Predator, and they have to work together to survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It would basically be like that, but on a more mass scale.
Mm-hmm. You need to explain what the aliens are after, because if they're after the Earth, they need to be like, well, we don't care that it's an irradiated, worthless ball.
What if you did it so far in the future that you found out that, like, intelligent humans had gone out and colonized, like, Mars or something before human
I
civilization
like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
fell on Earth? So then you have intelligent humans coming back to try and take the planet back over.
So they've got, like, let's say, like, Starship Troopers era, like, gear. Versus Planet of the Apes. Yeah, that's cool.
Fucking colonial marines.
Yeah, I like that. I like that idea a lot. But what if they were, like, in the guise of alien invaders? Not intentionally, but that's how the apes perceived them. They thought they were from, like, you know, they sprout off an alien planet, like Taylor suggests in the first movie. Maybe they've just been waiting for the planet to not be as irradiated.
Maybe.
Well, it's good that Galen is nice to the house human. So they definitely know that they're on Earth. The twist was not really a twist.
They figured
they read a book.
They figured it out pretty quickly. I would have liked that to have been at least like a mid-season like reveal, you know.
No, you could do it in the pilot. Just make it a bigger deal than looking at a book. Because, I mean, the audience would likely already know that. Not everybody, maybe, but most of them. Especially this close to the last movie. So
take a moment to...
they're proposing to fucking Galen, hey, come back to our time with us. Galen's like, all right, cool, I'd like to learn about it. They should be like, that's not going to work.
I'd like to take a moment to appreciate the fact that the non-blonde astronaut here has got some primo 70s hair going on. That's
They're both like different representations of 70s dudes. He's the young hothead. Blonde guy is like the older, wiser guy who went through Vietnam, you know?
yeah, yeah. The blonde guy's got more like a laid back kind of hippie kind of vibe to him. You know what I mean?
But he definitely was in Nam.
Like he kind of reminds me of the main character from fucking the Salem's Lot miniseries. He's got kind of a similar look going on. And the dark-haired guy is more of like a fucking like, you know.
He's a little He's a little Han Solo-y.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's the idea I was trying to think of. Yeah, a bit of a Han Solo, a little bit of like the Fonz. Hey,
Jukebox, don't break.
or I'll hit you.
Well, he hits it and then he's like, "Oh, please don't break," because then I'm gonna have to pay for it. I have your slop for you. It's delicious. No, it appears to be an egg, some leaves, and that's it. That's a delectable meal right there. Eggs and leaves. It's a Planet of the Apes delicacy. We do know that the apes are strictly herbivores.
Mm.
Or do they eat fish?
Do you think if there was like a couple who was having trouble conceiving, like a baby, that like the fawns could just come up and punch her in the pussy and then it would work?
I don't know how the reproduction in the Happy Days universe works, but sure, I'm willing to believe it.
He would be a great computer technician if he were born 50 or 60 years later, because he could just walk in, give your laptop a nice love tap, and then
he invented the Nintendo cartridge, so that way when you blow in it, it'll work again.
Yeah. Arthur Fonzarelli, truly a visionary in his time.
That's not a thing anymore. Like there's nothing to blow in. There's no tray. You could blow into the slot and accomplish nothing. If anything, you'll put more stuff in there.
I mean, we're gonna get to a point. There's not even gonna be like a disc that you can wipe off. You know, like
that's still a thing.
There's just gonna be files, and then it's gonna be like, what the fuck can you do for a corrupted file?
You wipe off your file?
We're gonna blow on this file right here.
Ooh, did Ape just kill Ape?
I think Ape just killed a lot of Ape.
Oh,
yeah.
Fuck me. Galen has joined the ranks of Maurice. Caesar killed some Ape.
Caesar did kill some Ape. Both Caesars, actually, but only after said apes did some bad shit.
Yeah. Both Caesars had that going for them. So they got that going for them.
Yeah.
You guys are fucking out of your minds.
I mean, and then in war, Caesar set off an avalanche. So that
Caesar
probably...
definitely killed a little ape.
Yeah, I'm sure some apes.
Did Caesar set off the... Oh, he did set off the avalanche. That was totally his fault.
Yeah.
We'll talk about
it. He made the explosion. He made the boom boom, and then the avalanche happened.
I remember. I saw it.
I remember.
A book!
I like the look on Urko's face there, like, you disgust me.
I feel like the acting has gotten better even over the course of this one episode. From the other actors, I mean.
I wonder if they shot this sequentially, so the actors are just figuring out how to act through the makeup as they go along.
But, like, I'm getting emotions now through the makeup. Urko's outfit is a little different from your Ursus's and your Aldo's. It's definitely clearly supposed to be like a cop uniform, not a proper army commander.
Well, it looks a lot closer to just like the regular uniforms that the other gorillas wear.
Yeah, he's definitely got a lower rank.
Like Urko's armor was very different.
You mean Ursus?
Did I say it? Or fucking... God, I hate it. I hate monkeys. No,
Say that in the right setting, and it cause some problems. Oh, you see, Zaius has got his fucking plantation boots on. This is very direct allegory. Now they're gone! He's got fucking regular Planet of the Apes shoes on now.
maybe he took his boots off, outside the door.
He didn't, though. We saw him walk through the door. Zaius' hair is a different color, too. It's more white than it is even the blondish it was in the original movies. The actual hair is another big change. Like, it's clearly not individual strands put on. But you know what I really like about the show, D? There's ideas, there's conversations. It's not all apes running around bashing each other over the head. It's going to get that way. But this first episode in particular, like, it's a pretty good little version of Planet of the Apes, don't you think?
I mean, the core of what Planet of the Apes has always been, in every version, has been, like, interesting sci-fi first, with, like, some fun and action-adventure thrown in to the mix. And this is still very much retained to that.
Oh my god, they're kidnapping Dr. Zaius. Every fucking Taylor-esque guy attempts to do that.
Brent never tried to kidnap Dr. Zaius.
Oh, that's true.
That wasn't the best line delivery in the world.
Mm-mm.
You're strange, humans. It was like Christopher Walken at the end of...
He's got the boots on again.
At the end of The Country Bears, when Christopher Walken said, "This is not over. Bears!"
This is not over. Apes!
You're very strange, human.
Help! I need somebody help.
Not just anybody.
I wonder if we can steal their clothes and disguise ourselves.
As apes.
It'll definitely work. You're a little short for an orangutan.
Maybe if they were landed from the original.
Woo! Bombs. Cool.
I wonder if you could do... This would never get greenlit, though. I wonder if you could do some sort of Planet of the Apes thing on TV now, since the newer movies kind of created some renewed interest.
I don't know. I don't know if there's the budget for it. Maybe you could do a mini-series, like 6, and somebody could fund that. I don't know, though.
I mean, well, first of all, it would have to be a return to, like, the analog apes, with the makeup and everything, because there's no way you could do motion capture on a TV budget.
Yeah, but what universe is it going to be set in?
I mean, it could be just set, like, way in the future of the new timeline, and they've just, like, evolved to be more human-looking,
I would love that. Sure. Hey, if they announce the Planet of the Apes TV series, I'm like, when? When do I have to turn on my cable box?
As long as it's not on fucking CBS All Access.
That they're not Fox. It would probably be on Fox.
Yeah, that's what'll happen. Fox will want to create their own fucking streaming service because everybody's a fucking whore these days. And no. Hate that bullshit.
Galen's telling Burke about his bullies. They put my head down the toilet. They didn't flush it. There was poop in there and they just let me sit there. It changed my life. Man, we've really gone back to the spaceship a whole lot.
And now we've, there's been a lot of setup so far in this episode, but now we've gotten into basically what the show is from now on, which is The Fugitive, but with
running. Exhausting amounts of running.
So much running.
I wonder if they're going to destroy the ship. They probably will, because otherwise, like, they'd go back to it every episode. Because they could probably fix it then. Or at least they would try.
I would think they just did destroy it, actually.
No, we're not going to see it.
No, there was like an off-screen explosion. We heard it, and
I
they were like,
thought I heard something like that, and I was like, that wasn't it, was it? Oh, a cheeky joke is the way you start to wrap up a 70s TV show. Well, things may look bad now, but we'll probably kill some guys and everything will be fine. On to more adventures on this definitely not a soundstage. It's the woods, I promise. Oh, that's the woods.
let us be off so that I can fire my agent.
Well, there we go. That was the live-action pilot for Planet of the Apes. Dylan, what did you think?
I thought that was a pretty good setup to a show, you know? I thought that Roddy McDowall was great. I thought that the humans were likable, and I could see myself wanting to follow their exploits further in the future. And I think that it's an interesting version of the universe, even if you can kind of see the places where they, scaled it back for TV.
I think it's a little slow, but it's fun, and it's got everything you need. The version of the universe is different enough that it's compelling on its own, and it still feels like Planet of the Apes. They should have just called Zeus something else, so that held up a lot better than I remembered it. So I'm happy on that level. Would you recommend it to fans of the movies?
Yeah, especially if you're as big of a fan as we are.
Yeah, completionists for sure. Give this a go.
Yeah. There's anyone who's really interested in just the premise of Planet of the Apes. If you're somebody who, wants to see different takes on it, then this is certainly a different take on it.
Well, all right. That's the live action show then. So we're going to move on to the animated show now. So everyone, we are talking about Return to the Planet of the Apes, the animated Planet of the Apes series, and we're talking about the fact that this is one of only two Planet of the Apes things that could have had Roddy McDowall in it when he was still alive, but didn't. This and Beneath being the only two things. For he died in 1998, and his last project was an appearance on Godzilla the Series, which I watched. Which I didn't even realize was him until Dylan just brought it up. You binge-watched that whole series. You've seen that episode, too.
Yeah, I don't remember which one that was.
That's the Loch Ness Monster one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That makes sense now.
You must have recorded it way in advance, though, because that episode apparently was in 1999, and he, obviously he died in 98.
That series was aired mad out of order.
Yeah. Interesting. He was also a voice in A Bug's Life. I never realized that before.
I didn't know that either. That's like Vincent Price being in that Matthew Broderick movie.
He was one of the fucking ants. And apparently he was in an episode of Superman, the TV series. Fucking
Which Superman
Nighttime?
Which Superman TV series? There were like 80 of those.
I think the animated series.
The 90s one?
Yeah.
He was the Mad Hatter in Batman TAS.
Well, then that's the episode I'm looking at then, because apparently the Mad Hatter appeared in an episode of Superman.
Oh yeah, Nighttime. When Superman pretended to be Batman.
Wait, who was he in Pinky and the Brain? This man was in way more things that I grew up with that I never realized were him. He did a
I know
voice
he was
on
also.
Gargoyle.
I know he was also in The Tick.
What a Darkwing! What a tragedy that this man died. This man should
And wasn't
still be
in this
around.
animated series because it may have been better than it is. We should get back to that. Return
Yeah.
to the Planet of the Apes is not something I have many positive feelings about, and I haven't seen a whole lot of it, so I guess I can't judge it too harshly because I haven't seen it, but what I have seen of it, I did not enjoy. And the reason I don't have more of an opinion on it is because I wasn't compelled to watch the rest of it. I don't really like the animation. The story is the same as it always is. The only interesting thing about it is that the universe is different once again because the technology is more advanced. There are actually versions of Cornelius and Zira, so that's good. There's Dr. Zaius, who's again different. He's kind of an idiot. We'll get there. But yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of it because it never really grabbed me. How about you?
Yeah, unlike the live-action television series, which I had sort of mild memories of, but very vague ones. I have never watched any of this aside from like the clips that they showed in the wonderful documentary Behind the Planet of the Apes, which was another thing featuring the late Roddy McDowall. Yeah, so yeah, I saw some clips of it from that. Read that one crazy ass story in the anthology thing that we read where it's set in that universe, but it's like a multi-part crossover with like all the versions of the franchise. That crazy ass thing. Read that story. That's about it. So,
And that story, like, it's good, and it really had to be set in this universe, but it has no bearing on the quality of the rest of the series.
Yeah. What's interesting is they did something in this that I'm surprised they didn't do in the live-action version, actually, which is they took it back to sort of the Pierre Boulle idea, where the apes, are the ape society, is advanced to a point very similar to what we were at the time. So they have like cars and helicopters and shit, and guns and well, they had guns in the movies, but you know what I mean.
Tanks.
They have advanced technology. Which is the way it was in the
They
Pierre
did that
Boulle novel.
because animation.
Right. I'm kind of surprised though that they didn't do that in the live action version because wouldn't it reduce the budget to not have to build a bunch of like primitive sets, to just like have an ape ride up in a car? You know what I mean? Like, don't you think that would?
I don't know. Because then you have to make it. It can't look exactly like modern day technology though. It has to be somewhat weird. Like the helicopters in the concept art for what they were originally going to do were like weird gyrocopters, so that's what it'd have to be.
Yeah, but when the vehicles show up in this show, they just look like normal like army vehicles, but with apes in them. So I don't know, weird, interesting.
Maybe they couldn't afford the army vehicles.
It's the only.
Maybe they could only afford the horses, so it would just be easier to keep it in the primitive setting of the original films.
Yeah, maybe. Aside from the ending of 2001, where Marky Mark lands in the fucking ape version of Washington D.C., this is the only adaptation of Planet of the Apes that has actually done the whole technology thing like the book did. I would be really interested to see whether they go that route if they make more movies in the new continuity. The Rise Dawn War. Caesar continuity.
I kind of get the sense that we're going to build to a point where it's like the original film version where the lawgiver rejects human technology and casts it out.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. I wouldn't be opposed to getting a live-action version of Apes with helicopters just because we haven't really, again, aside from like...
I would be fine with it. I just don't even know if it would make sense given the story direction we've taken.
Yeah, aside from those last 2 minutes of fucking the 2001 version. But even that, it was just like a human city. The cool thing about the Pierre Boulle novel is like there's like jungle gyms over the streets so that the apes can like move around without having to like to reduce foot traffic and like crazy shit like that in the book.
Everybody go read the book. I know we said that when we did the DFOS episode, but it's an interesting read. But
it's also like, it's good because it's so different from any other version, but because it does inform so many other versions, you know?
yeah. Well, I think I've rambled long enough for everybody to pull this up on the interwebs.
Yeah, this is really short anyway, so we're going to wrap this up real soon. So, whip up Return to the Planet of the Apes, Episode 1 from 1975. Get it to 00 on the International Space Satellite in space, or whatever means you have available to you, and press play in 3, 2, 1, play. So, first things first, I like the intro. I like all the intros on these, because they always manage to maintain, like, the tone of Planet of the Apes. And the music is always very fitting. It's just what follows isn't always very compelling. Look at these scarecrows, too. They're very different.
Yeah, they look like actual apes hung upside down.
Exactly.
You were talking about not really liking the animation, but so far, at least in terms of the environment and like the shadows and things in the foreground, I think it looks pretty good. I think once we get characters moving around, it's going to turn into that super like stiff, you know.
Right. Well, it looks good like in still frame, which is all we've seen so far, and which is all of you'll see mostly of.
Oh, that Shadow's ace was really cool.
Yeah, like it looks like a comic book right now, and it looks awesome. Oh, I should say, this came out in the wake of the Marvel Comics, which also did the more advanced technology thing. And it's kind of based on that. It's kind of a cartoon adaptation of that, in the same way that the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla is sort of in the wake of the Hanna-Barbera, of the Marvel Godzilla comics. Interesting. This is the first Planet of the Apes thing to use NASA.
It is, instead of ANSA.
Look at the ethnically diverse cast. Aren't we modern? All right, so it's 2081 present day. Oh no, the present day was 1976. They're in 2081 now. We'll see how far they go in this version to the Apes war timeline. But here we are again, D, doing astronauts arriving on the Planet of the Apes for the first time.
Yeah.
I would like to read some of the Marvel Planet of the Apes comics. So far, how do you think it looks?
Yeah, okay. So everything is very well drawn. It just doesn't move very much.
Right. It kind of looks like... Have you ever seen that short on the Incredibles DVD where it's like the crappy...
Why do they keep cutting to that same close-up of that black dude? He hasn't moved his face in like...
The Ape City looks awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Oh, this is Urko in his orange outfit. That's very hot. Very festive.
See, this is the kind of voice I pictured Urko having, not the fucking...
Yeah, see? I think he's got more of a role in this, though.
We gotta kill the humans, see? The humans.
Why are some of the apes, like, yellow?
Yeah. Well, you know, there are apes in Asia. You shouldn't...
Look, that ape has, like, those gloves? Zero looks weird.
Shouldn't he say human? Because technically they're humanoid.
The ideas in the cartoon, it's not even like they're not fleshed out. Somehow they just don't feel as intimidating because we're not seeing it from the right perspective. You know, it doesn't feel special. It doesn't feel grand in any way. It just feels like exposition, as opposed to the original film where we were drawn into it in such a way where we really feel the impact of it and the implications for both humanity and ape-anity.
This is a really interesting approach to animation, in that it's not very animated.
Dude, Do you remember the Incredibles DVD short where they did like Ozeus looks good, where they had like it was like what if they did an Incredibles cartoon in the 60s and it was just Mr. Incredible and Frozone and they had a bunny for a sidekick? Did you see this?
I think so.
And they had the lips. Mr. Frozone had like fucking weird lips.
Were they like real human lips put onto the cartoon? 'Cause
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
a thing. That's a thing they used to do. You can look it up. There's like all these old cartoons from like the late 50s, early 60s that are like super weird. Where you would have like an Eskimo, and he barely moves at all, but he's got like human lips plastered onto him, like fucking Luke Skywalker from that video where he sings that song. But
Yep.
this is a thing that people used to do.
It kind of
for a
looks
while.
like that, but without the lips. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Like, just
It's another in
imagine
39
slapping the lips on there.
It's another in 3970 something.
So they're still a little behind the original movie.
No, ahead because the original 3950 something.
Oh, right, my bad. Yeah, you're right.
Oh wait, no, that's the retconned version from Escape. Do you remember what the chronometer actually read in the first movie?
No, I
remember
don't.
it was different.
It was different. Yeah,
I
you're
remember.
right.
Fuck, I don't remember what it was.
We'd have to go back. Back to the future!
Wah, bah, bah. I'm surprised they never did. You know what? I'm not even going to say it
They did
because
it
I'm
back
pretty sure they.
did a Back to the Future cartoon.
Yep, you're right. I remembered it
There's
as
comics,
it was coming out of my
video
mouth.
games, there's everything, don't worry.
It was on the tip of my tongue when I remembered. Oh yeah, they did do that. It was called Rick and Morty.
That too.
Oh geez, Rick, 9 more seasons, Morty.
That show will definitely have 9 more seasons.
They should do a Planet of the Apes thing on Rick and Morty. You know, they've done The Purge. They've done.
I'd like to see a new Planet of the Apes animated series. I know you talked about a live-action series that looks more like the traditional Planet of the Apes. I kind of want to see an animated series that does that. And it doesn't have to be set in the new timeline. It can be its own thing.
Yeah,
Maybe it's
you know what?
maybe it's more of an adaptation of like the modern Boom Studios comics, where it's like it's like a modern version of the original timeline.
What if somebody went back and just did a straight up adaptation of the book and like cut out all the movie influences? You know,
Oh, I'd love that. That's great. Yeah, you're right. Do that.
they could do
Wouldn't
that.
it
as
be
like
great
a
if they did that as a miniseries? Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. You do a proper adaptation with Ulysses.
Yeah, I mean that's what Stephen King did with The Shining because he was so upset with the Stanley Kubrick version that he made his own incredibly boring TV version. So there's precedent. All it needs is some.
And you can
pissed off-
then make that continue somehow.
You could if you wanted to. Although at that point it's just the adventures of Ulysses and his family.
You don't have to, no,
you know?
no. I think you go back and you do anthology stuff.
I wouldn't mind it in like a Black Mirror style anthology series set on the Planet of the Apes.
You just have to set it like, in different time periods. Obviously, you can go back and do origin stuff too.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we
you
just
could
got
do
that in the movie, so I think do that like in a later season.
You could do some Caesar stuff. You could do some original timeline stuff. You could do whatever the fuck you wanted.
And I think you
It
should
would just
definitely
be-
mix in stuff from the movies. This looks kind of cool. If it, like I said, this looks. If this was a comic book, it would look great.
One thing I'm very impressed with, again, the line art is all great. It's just that the animation is not.
It's not there.
Really?
It's not
But,
there.
like, But one thing I'm very impressed with in terms of the line art, I kind of wish this was a comic book instead of an animated series, actually. But they have a great use of shadow in this.
Mm-hmm. So feet, Dylan. Best animated thing so far.
Yeah, really. Oh, those shadows look pretty good.
Yeah, well, that's a given.
That's weird. At times, the movement is so natural that it almost looks like it could have been rotoscoped. And then you have apes just sliding into frame.
You're gonna see real people on screen later. That's gonna be really weird. Trust me.
feel like those walk cycles for those shadows in the distance are really fucking good. And everything, all the environments look good. Like they got really top-notch artists, but then they forgot to tell them to make the things move.
Oh, they didn't get animators.
Maybe they were going for that. Maybe they were going for like kind of a motion comic type feel. There's an animated series, I forget what it's called, but it's basically just Marvel motion comics. Back in the day.
Oh,
like
the
in the
60s one, the Marvel superheroes, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are cool looking too, but the animation is just lacking. I feel like those are better animated than this is, though, because those are more directly like comics with animation.
Right.
They're a little more self-aware. This isn't so much.
Yeah, because I personally, I enjoy this sort of.
This
old
looks
school,
a lot
like,
better than the 60s Spider-Man show, though.
I enjoy this sort of
That looked okay.
old school Johnny Quest looking type of animation, but it's got to be, animated.
Right.
I can't decide whether this looks better or worse than the Star Trek animated series, because the character designs in the Star Trek animated series were definitely worse. It like less detail and whatnot, but it was better. Like it moved.
Oh, is this our first reference to the mutants? Whoa, that looks cool.
It might be. We know that the mutants exist in this
I just don't know
universe.
if you see them in the series. Unless this is just a fire. Alright, it looked cool the first time, but then we saw it 3 times. Wow, what a dick move.
What a fucking specific fire.
Right? Like, up. Oh. Well, that was... We did what needed to be done. Very motivated fire. They look so confused. They're like, why did it do that to us?
That had to be the mutants, right?
This is
Except
very faithful to the original movie so far.
Except they destroyed their survival packs. The mutants could never do that in the movie. Like all they could do
they
is
don't start out with the mutants. So this is the last gasp of Planet of the Apes, though. At this time, that's probably why there was no Roddy McDowall. The live action series failed. It failed to generate enough interest to keep it going for another season, so they canceled it. So then they decided to bring it to animation because they, cheaper and everything, and it appeals directly to kids anyway. They can continue to sell merchandise and toys and the Marvel comics, so Planet of the Apes keeps going. But this also fails to generate enough interest to keep it going, and Planet of the Apes slowly but surely dies off until much, much later.
Now that I think about it, the bad animation is probably just the final extension of that whole problem that Planet of the Apes always had in those days, which was, hey, this is successful. Let's keep cutting the budget every time we make another thing.
Yep.
So the movies got cheaper and cheaper as time went on, and then the television series was even cheaper than that. And now there's this, which is just the ultimate extension of their cheapness.
Exactly. Like I said, it's just there to keep the merchandise going. They have to have some new IP out there so that way they can continue to sell Planet of the Apes stuff. It was the same thing with Toho felt the same way about Godzilla. They wanted to continue to sell Godzilla toys in foreign markets, but they didn't have any movies to put out. That's why they were so ecstatic when they were like, oh my god, we're going to bring Godzilla back in the 80s. Thank Jesus.
I really love when the main characters are talking, but their mouths aren't moving. That's great.
It's a beautiful telepathic experience.
Now, this looks like the Venture Brothers, but the Venture Brothers is a parody.
It's also self-aware and making fun of stuff like this.
Exactly. I recently started watching the Venture Brothers because I didn't like it when I was younger because I didn't understand it.
Wow, but like Mount Rushmore of apes there.
I watched it more recently, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty funny.
I wonder if the guy on the far left is supposed to be Caesar.
I don't know.
One of them was an Ursus-looking motherfucker, there was a Zeus-looking motherfucker, and then there was another one.
I wonder if the Zeus-looking motherfucker could have been the lawgiver, and if the Ursus-looking motherfucker could have been Aldo.
Potentially. Here's another thing that's more in common with the films. Brent is an astronaut who crashed on this planet long before, and they actually know each other.
In the first movie, didn't Dr. Zeus also quote a scripture from the Sacred Scrolls about like some old ass ancient ape named like Prometheus or some shit who like chained his human to a tree?
Yeah.
Maybe
He tried to have.
before
Well,
Fate.
yeah, they kept humans as pets.
Yeah.
What attractive looking fellows. Oh, why did they take their shirts off? This is getting really overtly sexual.
This is also super psychedelic.
Isn't it?
Jesus Christ.
Like,
like
if I were on drugs right now, I would be freaking out right now.
Bill, you're not on the right kind of drugs to enjoy that though. Like that's the kind
No.
of thing you drop shrooms for, you know?
Yeah. I'm just kind of looking at it like, yep, that's weird. That's a little odd. I'm really glad we found this one tree in the middle of the desert to talk under.
Okay, well this is clearly not real estate because that black man has a very flat ass, which is not.
They're thick boys. So are they just not going to interact with the apes in this? We've barely
No, I
had
think
any apes.
I think this is like the first act of the movie. I think they're going to run into the apes like at the end and then get captured, and then it's going to be like, tune in next week to return to the planet of the apes. Wait, they're looking for Brent? Holy shit.
What a reversal.
Where's the girl named Brent?
No, she's. I think she's. That's Nova.
Not that girl. The girl that came with them, the astronaut girl.
Oh. They're not looking for him. They know him though. He actually left after they did, but he got there before they did. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Oh, and the humans can talk in this. It's kind of a mix of the live action show and the original movie and the book. It's a mishmash, which is fine. I like that. Don't you? Don't you like that?
It feels more like Beneath. We've
Yeah.
had like weird hallucinations in the desert. We've had like, we're looking for Brent.
This whole fucking cartoon is a weird hallucination.
Yep. I feel like this entire cartoon was actually conceived by a Native American man who had just taken peyote. I don't get the sense that these other cave people are talking. I think it's just Nova. I think maybe Brent taught her. I think Brent is our Heston, which is weird.
They rolled out the entire fucking military to fight off some cavemen.
Jesus Christ.
Look at this! This is insanity! Urko's a fucking boss. Oh, by the way, the guy who voices Urko also voiced Fred Flintstone. Did we talk about that at one point?
I don't know, but I can hear it now that you said it.
Wilma!
Yabba dabba doo. Charge.
We'll
My
have
God.
a gay old time.
It's an army of apes.
Another tree. Same tree. Wow, I wonder how long we're just going to stare at this until we do something about it.
What are you pointing at?
Guys, you think we would maybe went a little all out with this one? Potentially. Now they're going the wrong way. They're retreating. I love the smell of tear gas in the morning. See, now this looks weirdly like rotoscoped.
That's what I mean. The animation ranges from not at all to oddly realistic.
It's creepy. I don't like it.
And it cuts between them in the same scene.
It is unnatural. I'm gonna drive right into that gas if it kills me! Did they need all the military forces to throw some gas at them? They are not having a gay old time.
They're getting yabba dabba right in the do.
Well, this sucks. This isn't as fun as banging Brent.
And Taylor, forget about it.
Oof. Heston, he was a monster. He did things to me that should be illegal, but we're on the planet of the apes, so you know. Nova.
Every time he thrust, he said, "Ah!"
Nova, I'm going to show you my people.
And when he came, he said, "It's people."
Oh, Soylent Green is people! So is my dick. It is filled with more people. Nova, you will give birth to a... What the fuck? What the fuck? What is this fucking like? Like fucking air tube? Whoop!
On one occasion, he failed to maintain an erection, and he said, "You blew it up."
What a wonderful smell you've discovered.
Ah, damn you.
I'm really glad we've captured these people and put them in this brown cage. This will bring great honor to the apes.
Look how sorrowful they are.
Yeah, they're not in a great situation, not gonna lie. Oh my god, look, more trees. Why did they turn blue? Are they trying to...
They're blue.
Oh, they're trying to blend in? They're not doing a very good job.
Listen up, here's a story about a blue guy who lives in a blue world. And all day and all night, everything he sees...
Does he have a blue girlfriend?
He does. And a blue window. Even the fillings that live inside him.
Trump's America. Or Paris?
Trump's Paris?
I mean, that's where those arches are from. Hello, everyone. My name is Cornelius. I don't like his voice. He sounds like a creepy weirdo. He sounds like a pedophile.
Do you suppose that this could be a reference to the fact that the original novel was French?
Don't make me slap you.
The use of the French architecture in this in this animated cartoon.
I think it's clearly supposed to be a mix of different kinds of architecture because they're a mishmash of stuff they've stolen from humans, you know?
Right, it is a tad Roman as well, isn't it? Yeah.
All right, Cornelius, calm down over there. You can try and molest children on your own time.
This is my time.
Oh, God. Look, he's so daintily holding his chest. That was really the last image. That was the last... Oh, nope.
He looked like he fainted, but right before he fainted, he said, "Oh, my."
Oh, my goodness. Well, Dylan, that was it. What'd you think?
Wow.
Wow.
I feel like I really like the script and
Did you?
You know, the ideas.
Do you?
Like, yeah, but the problem is it's just not very animated, is it?
I don't think it's an all that great version of the universe anyway. Sure, the idea of doing a more Pierre Boulle-esque universe, fine, that's cool. But I just don't feel like the way it executes it's really all that interesting. I don't think the versions of the astronauts we get are really anything. If anything, I'll say that they took the story and once again adapted it to this new medium well. They've found a good way to turn Planet of the Apes into a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yes.
So,
if only they would remember to, have it be a cartoon.
if only they remembered to animate it, it would have been fine.
It felt more like a slideshow with you remember the really primitive animations that you could pull off in PowerPoint,
Yeah, it feels like the Godzilla gang. Like occasionally there's some movement, but mostly it's just things standing still.
Yeah. Well, it was slightly more animated than the Godzilla gang. I'll give them some credit.
Fair enough. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's anything to write home about. Definitely don't write your parents an actual letter like I just watched the Planet of the Apes cartoon. It was nothing.
Oh wow! Somebody in the comments actually noticed that it was the voice actor who played for Flintstone. Like they just recognized the voice. Interesting.
Hey, anybody else who did that? Maybe on the recording? Haha, I don't know.
But you read the fact somewhere. You didn't just hear the voice and go, "Oh yeah, badabadoo, motherfucker."
Yeah, well, I didn't read it now. It was a while ago, bitch.
Oh well, la-di-da. No, fuck. What was I gonna say? As a curiosity piece for the ape inclined, check it out.
The live action series is better.
It is, although this has a better intro. I would say.
Okay.
The live action series intro was good, but this one was more stylish.
I guess I can see that. Well, Dylan, that was the first part of Addenduming Apes. We just addendumed the 2 TV adaptations of the apes, but we have more addenduming to do. So, what is next?
So next time on Addenduming Apes, we're going to finally talk about the latest and greatest. No, not really, but the latest. Planet of the Apes.
It's complicated.
The latest Planet of the Apes film, War for the Planet of the Apes, 2017. I saw it in theaters. Not enough of you assholes did, though.
Yeah.
So we will be doing that just as soon as Bill finally gets his fucking hard copy. So look for that in the very near to immediate future.
Absolutely. And many more things as well. And we have one other part we're going to do with this. We're going to do a review on the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes prequel novel, Firestorm, on DFOS. So look out for that as the third part of this series as well. So more apes to be heard in the future. So until then, I am Bill Worster.
Although, unlike these, though, I can't really say when that episode of DFOS will be done, simply because it all depends on how quickly we finish the book. It's not a long book, but it's a matter of whether we have time to fucking sit and read it.
Get it read as quickly as possible, and we'll see. How far are you into it?
Not that far, to be honest. I didn't have much time to. I haven't had much time to read.
Let's try and have it done by next weekend.
By next weekend?
Not this weekend. The weekend after.
We can try.
Star Wars weekend. So we'll see you in the future. Sayonara, kids. I'm Bill Worster, a.k.a. Zazubaar.
And I'm Super DM64, I guess.
It's a madhouse! A madhouse, Brent!
It's relatively insane, yeah.
God damn you